Hello, I'm Nigel Reflective, historically known as the Magic Mirror. So you've decided to make a time capsule for your biography, eh? Well done. Remember, today is tomorrow's history. Your bio may be discovered thousands of years into the future and might be helpful in piecing together some historical puzzle. You never know. There are two types of time capsule to choose from. One is a short-term time capsule that'll probably be reopened in your lifetime, and a long-term time capsule that will probably last forever. Both will require the use of what the entertainment industry calls gaffer tape. This should be available in most shops and hardware stores. The short-term time capsule only needs to be relatively watertight, unless you want to bury it outside somewhere. If it's to go outside, you'll require a long-term time capsule. For a short-term one, put the disc or tape back in its case with your name, what it is, and the date on it. Then, wrap it up in several layers of gaffer tape. Make sure you start by putting 4 pieces over the corners first, because that's where it's most likely to leak. Then, wrap it up in several layers to make it airtight. Once that's done, get a card and a black felt-tipped pen. Write the same details on the card and stick it to the case. Wrap this up in several layers of clear masking tape so you can still read the card, and that's pretty much it. You successfully made a sealed short-term time capsule that should keep your disc safe for 100 years or so, if it's kept inside and dry. The long-term time capsule requires a little more work and a few more things from your local hardware shop. You'll need either a Chinese food or Tupperware container with a lid big enough to fit your disc or tape inside the container with a little room to spare. You will need 4 flat-top thumbtacks, a long sewing needle, a small piece of uncrumpled aluminium foil, a felt-tipped pen, some double-sided sticky tape or blue tack, and a can of casting or embedding resin and its catalyst. Epoxy resin will suffice, but proper casting and embedding resin works best. When you've got all these things, follow all of the steps for making the short-term time capsule that I mentioned earlier and continue on from there. The first thing to do is test your resin on your container to make sure that the resin won't eat at it before it's dry. Kids under 18, make sure that you get an adult to help you with this mixing of chemicals, as they're probably poisonous and sometimes corrosive. When you've mixed a tiny bit of resin up, according to the instructions on the can, pour a little onto the lid of your container. Just pour enough to make it about the size of a coin. Leave this to dry for however long the instructions say to, and see if there's been any damage made to the plastic. I know you'll be impatient to do the real one, but believe me, it's better to test first, because if it eats the container, you'll lose your disc, the expensive resin, and the bench that you left it on. This stuff is hard to remove from any surface, so be patient. When the test is dry, see if there was any cracking or leaking of the plastic container. If not, it's safe to continue. Put your Chinese food container securely on the bench and place your 4 thumbtacks point up into the container. These will be the drying legs for your disc. Place the completed short-term time capsule carefully on the tacks so it looks like a little 4-legged table. Make sure that the disc does not touch the sides of the container. Now, judge how much resin you'll need to use to completely seal in the disc. You'll want the resin to cover the disc or tape till it's about 5 millimeters under the surface of the resin. If you don't think you have enough resin for this, see if you can find a slightly smaller container or get more resin. Before you pour it in, get the uncrumpled aluminium foil and cut out a placard about the size of your capsule and write your name, what it is, and the date on it with a permanent felt-tipped pen. Stick it onto one side of the time capsule with tiny balls of blue tack or the double-sided sticky tape, and then turn it over. On the other side, stick another piece of foil with these words written on it, printed in biro. This is what you write. This is a time capsule readable by a machine available in the early 21st century. The human depicted on this readable device has left this film for future inhabitants of Earth for education and understanding purposes. The unit within is made of plastic and must be opened layer by layer very carefully. It's fragile. Use all of your scientific knowledge to do it carefully. That's what it has to say. Place the short-term time capsule on the tacks and mix up your full batch of resin with the catalyst. Pour the resin in slowly, making sure that no air bubbles form around the package. Once it's full, you might have a floating problem to deal with. Grab the long sewing needle and poke it through the centre of the Chinese food container lid. Put the lid carefully on the container without moving it. Push the needle slowly and carefully down till it holds the capsule firmly in place. Don't press too hard though. The container should then be left undisturbed for several days. The can that you got your resin in should tell you the amount of time recommended for completing drying. Once it's dry and hard, write whatever you like on the Chinese food container and then carefully cut the end of the needle off with a pair of pliers. You have to do this carefully because the end of the needle might come off and hit you in the eyes. File it down to the resin level if you like and make it neat. You've just created a long-term time capsule that should last underground for thousands, perhaps millions of years. Resin is known to be the most effective thing in making things last for millions of years. If you've ever seen the Steven Spielberg film Jurassic Park, you'll know that insects and other things have been preserved in natural tree-made resin called amber for over 65 million years. Oxygen and water are two elements that really corrode things over time, so the resin keeps it out. Resin is also very hard, so crushing pressures from earthquakes, tree roots and natural movements will keep your time capsule from being broken. With any luck, someone or something will find it in 100 million years and watch you answering my questions. You might end up in a museum or collected by aliens. Aren't you special? You might also like to consider putting your old teeth, fingernails and some hair in. You might get cloned in the future, who knows? But whatever you do with your time capsule, make sure you have fun. You may be wondering what it is that I do. Well, I'm an interactive program that helps you make a do-it-yourself personal video biography. I'm very easy to use too. All you need is some sort of media player, either a computer or a DVD player, and a video camera or sound recorder. All you have to do is download something called the Magic Mirror Immortality Kit from this site. And then you'll be interactively asked several thousand questions on your life and your experiences. Here's how it works. The video shows me asking you thousands of questions in a row like this. How much money do you think you have? What is your best quality? Who are you in love with at the moment? What is your favourite holiday location? What you do is point a video camera or sound recorder at yourself and record yourself answering my questions. Pause me between every question for as long as you want so you can answer each question at your leisure. There are plenty of tutorials included with this kit that teach you how to make stories for each question, so you're trained to speak as long as possible and link other long-forgotten memories. This kit was first developed as a quick documentary maker for terminally ill patients and elderly people, but it has hundreds of other uses too. You can find out lots of these other uses if you type in "uses for Magic Mirror" on your YouTube search engine. Make your own Magic Mirror personal biography. Unlock memories you thought you'd forgot, and leave behind an unforgettable trove of memories for you and your loved ones, in case you die unexpectedly. Oh, doing the documentary itself is quite fun too. Try it out.